Welcome back to Movie Plot Crack. Today I will show you a comedy drama film from 26 titled The Devil Wears Prada 2. Spoilers ahead, watch out, and take care. Andy Sachs, now a respected journalist, is at a prestigious awards ceremony where she has been nominated for a major award. The room is filled with her colleagues, all dressed up and excited for the evening. Then, all of their phones buzz at the same time. Every face in the room changes expression. Andy's name is announced as the winner, and she walks up to the stage. She tells the crowd that she was thrilled a moment ago, but she has just received an alert informing her and all of her colleagues that they have been fired. A group of investors has acquired the company, and their jobs are gone just like that. That same night, across the city, a man named Nigel is attending a glamorous event alongside a woman named Amari. He quietly tells her that a controversy involving Runway magazine has not yet broken out to the public. They plan to inform Miranda Priestly, the powerful editor of Runway, once the event is over. All the major celebrities arrive on the red carpet, and Miranda soon follows, posing for photographs. Then Nigel sees on his phone that the controversy has gone completely viral. Miranda is ready to speak to the press, but Nigel pulls her away and tells her the story is spreading fast, and the CEO will not be happy. The magazine was already struggling financially, and things are now about to get significantly worse. Back at her home, Miranda sits with her partner Stuart and explains what happened. A fast fashion company tricked Runway into publishing content that promoted their brand. It later came out that the company treated its workers under terrible conditions, and now the internet is holding Miranda responsible for not doing her research before publishing. Her phone then rings, and it is Irv, the CEO. He is furious and tells her that he is even receiving death threats. His son Jay shows him the scale of the social media backlash. Miranda assures Irv that she will fix it, but he tells her to stay out of it and that he will think of a solution himself. He is still trying to figure out what to do when Jay shows him a clip of Andy from the awards ceremony that has gone viral online. Irv immediately comes up with a plan. Andy is at home scrolling through the internet and comes across the pile-on happening against Miranda online. Late that night, her phone rings. It is Irv. He tells her he saw her viral clip and that she looks like someone who needs a job. Andy meets with her friends the next day and tells them that she has been offered a position at Runway as a features editor, with a promise of a better role later and the possibility of bringing her friends on board as well. Everyone agrees that she should take it. One friend suggests that Andy could use the opportunity to write a memoir about Miranda, something scandalous that would sell enormously. Andy refuses the idea immediately, but she does send Irv a message asking for $50,000. The following morning, Miranda and Nigel are informed that Irv is sending someone over to help with the situation. They are not entirely sure what he is planning, but they have no choice but to accept it. Amari announces that the visitor has arrived. It is Andy. She is happy to be back and excited to see Nigel. Miranda, however, looks at her blankly and has no idea who she is. Nigel explains that Andy was her assistant 20 years ago, alongside Emily. Miranda still cannot place her. Andy tells her that Irv hired her the previous night to help resolve the scandal. Miranda's expression hardens. She immediately calls the assistant she had already hired and fires her on the spot, blaming Andy for it. Miranda, Nigel, and Amari all get into a car, and Andy follows them outside. Inside the car, Andy tries to explain the plan going forward. Miranda tells her that the first priority is managing their biggest advertiser, Dior, which represents 16% of Runway's total revenue. After the scandal, Dior is going to come in with demands, and Runway will need to meet them. They all arrive at Dior's offices, and the senior executive who comes out to greet them turns out to be none other than Emily, Andy's former colleague from their days working at Runway together. Emily is shocked to see all of them arrive together. Miranda still does not seem to remember that Emily and Andy both once worked as her assistants. They sit down for the meeting, and Andy introduces herself as the new features editor. Emily is surprised, looks her over, and says she seems more confident than before, but her eyebrows are still just as wonky. Emily then gets straight to business. She tells them that Runway made a serious mistake and that Dior is considering pulling out as an advertiser entirely. To maintain the partnership, they will need 3 full pages of advertising credit and a 5-page editorial feature on the opening of Dior's brand new flagship store. Nigel tries to negotiate, but Emily does not budge. They finally agree to her terms and leave the building. Outside, Andy expresses surprise that Miranda did not push back harder. Miranda explains simply that without advertisers, there is no magazine. Andy tries to argue, but Miranda cuts her off, telling her that she was hired against her own wishes and is expected to fail. Until Andy proves otherwise, she has no business speaking up. Miranda gets into her car and tells Andy to take the subway. The next morning, Andy arrives at the office and meets Charlie, Miranda's second assistant. They start chatting, but Amari interrupts and leads Andy to her new office, which Miranda has specifically assigned to her. It turns out to be a small, cluttered room packed with paper. She is sitting there working when Nigel appears and invites her to lunch. Over the meal, Nigel tells her honestly that Runway is barely a magazine anymore. Almost nobody buys physical copies. Everything has moved to digital, and budgets have been cut so severely that quality has suffered. Andy says she is surprised to see Miranda behaving so compliantly. Nigel explains that Irv had been considering Miranda for a global head of content position, and this scandal could derail her chances. So, she is keeping her head down and following every rule. Back at the office, Andy meets her assistant Jen, who shares an impressive list of credentials. Andy is happy with her. She then notices Miranda hanging up her own coat. Jen explains that HR received complaints about Miranda throwing coats at assistants, and she was told to stop. She has also been asked to write a public apology, which she handed to Charlie to publish. The next morning, the apology article goes live. Jay shows Irv that the piece has gone viral, and the public is responding positively. Andy arrives at the office in a great mood and hovers around Miranda's area, waiting to be acknowledged for her work. Miranda pays her no attention. Andy notices a project being kept under wraps, connected to a famous billionaire couple named Benji and Sasha Barnes. After the couple split, Sasha inherited a vast fortune and disappeared from public life completely. Miranda has been desperate to land an interview with her, but has had no luck. The team gathers for a meeting, and Miranda reviews everyone's work. She is unhappy with all of it and takes pointed jabs at the team one after another. Amari keeps trying to stop her before another HR complaint is filed. Andy speaks up and mentions that her apology article worked very well. Miranda acknowledges that people responded to it, but says that no one actually read the entire issue. Andy's job is to make people want to pick up the magazine, and until she accomplishes that, she has no business interrupting the meeting. Afterwards, Andy vents to Nigel about the fact that Miranda did not acknowledge her contribution. Nigel stops her and says plainly that what she is looking for is a compliment. She got the job because she needed it, and her responsibility is simply to deliver results. She should not be waiting for praise for doing what she was hired to do. Andy returns to her desk and works harder than before. However, none of her subsequent pieces gain enough traction. Miranda pulls her aside one afternoon and tells her bluntly that she does not have much time to prove herself before she will be let go. Andy panics and immediately says the first thing that comes to mind. She tells Miranda she is working on a profile of Sasha Barnes. Miranda stops in her tracks. Sasha has not spoken to the press in 3 years. Andy tells her she has found a way in and that they will have the interview soon. Miranda walks out without another word. That evening, Andy tells her friend the truth. She made the whole thing up and has absolutely no contact with Sasha. But then she notices something in one of Sasha's old photographs. There is a distinctive piece of artwork visible on the wall in the background. She calls her friend Lily, and by remarkable luck, Lily knows the art dealer who sold Sasha that exact painting. Andy tracks down the contact and sends message after message. Sasha eventually responds and agrees to an interview. Around this time, Andy is out with Lily looking for a new apartment. Since she is now earning twice her previous salary, they go to see a luxury building. In one of the rooms, a man is sitting quietly by himself. They get to talking. He says he likes the apartment too. Andy looks around and says the building has history, but the interior feels staged, like all the original character has been stripped out. The man smiles and introduces himself as Peter. He tells her he owns the building. Andy immediately apologizes for insulting his property. Peter says he understands what she means. They exchange playful conversation until Andy's phone buzzes with something urgent and she rushes out. Lily turns to Peter and asks if he is single. He says yes. Andy races to the office and tells Miranda that Sasha has agreed to an interview. They travel to Sasha's home and sit down with her. Sasha explains that she has been focusing on herself and plans to give most of her wealth away. Miranda asks why she chose to speak to the press after so many years of silence. Sasha says that the recent work coming out of Runway genuinely moved her, and that is why she agreed to the interview. Then, off the record, Sasha leans in and tells them she has recently become engaged, and that Runway can be the first publication to break the story. They work on the issue together, and Andy is unsure whether Miranda will like it. Miranda reads the finished piece and tells them that she does. Andy breaks into a quiet giggle of relief. The next morning, Andy goes back to sign the lease on the new apartment and runs into Peter again. He asks her out on a date, and she agrees. On the date, Peter tells her he read some of her articles and thought they were very good. She tells him no man has ever actually done that before. She opens up and tells him that Runway is just a stepping stone for her and that she eventually wants to return to real journalism. She also mentions a book offer from a publisher who wants her to write about a famous personality, but they want the scandal while she wants to write something more meaningful. Shortly after, Andy tells Amari that she has received a personal invitation from Miranda to her home that Saturday, at Irv's specific request. She goes to Nigel for help putting together an outfit for the occasion. He takes her to the wardrobe and selects several pieces, reminding her that everything needs to be returned by Monday since the budget is tight. Andy spots a particular piece and begs Nigel to let her wear it. He eventually agrees on the condition that it comes back without a single stain. At Miranda's home, Stuart welcomes Andy warmly, and Miranda introduces her to a room full of influential guests. During lunch, Andy notices Miranda deep in conversation with Irv. She spills some sauce on her dress and slips into the kitchen to clean it. Miranda follows her in and tells her quietly that she spoke with Irv. He is planning his 75th birthday celebration and intends to announce Miranda as the global head of content at the event. He will also increase Runway's budget so they can produce better work going forward. Andy congratulates her. Miranda then tells Andy that she always knew she would end up doing something great. Andy moves into the new apartment and gets ready for Irv's birthday party, with Peter as her date. The event is filled with celebrities and high-profile guests. Peter steps away to speak with Hugh Jackman. Andy looks around and spots Benji in the crowd, with Emily on his arm as his date. Nigel mentions quietly that they have been seeing each other for some time. Miranda is also there with Stuart beside her. Andy finds herself talking to Nigel and says she is amazed at how he has stayed loyal to Miranda despite everything. Nigel says she has gone behind his back more than once over the years, but he always stays. Andy tells him that if he wants things to change, he needs to speak up about what he wants. Emily brings Benji over to say hello. Benji says he saw the piece Andy did on Emily, did not read it, but thought the photographs were excellent. Then there is the sound of a glass breaking. Irv collapses. He has suffered a heart attack and dies right there at his own party. Everyone gathers for Irv's memorial. His son Jay approaches Miranda and tells her he loves Runway and cannot wait to work with her. Andy asks Nigel quietly what Jay is going to do to the magazine. Nigel says it is only going to get worse. At the next team meeting, Nigel briefs everyone on the upcoming Runway Gala in Italy, a major musical fashion show where Miranda will deliver her signature speech. The rest of the team keeps raising concerns about Jay and what his takeover might mean for their jobs. Miranda keeps redirecting the conversation back to work. Jay then walks in and invites Miranda to discuss a few things over lunch in the cafeteria, leaving her visibly horrified. She goes anyway, sitting in a cafeteria for what appears to be the first time in her life, as the entire staff stares in disbelief. Jay introduces her to the new team he has assembled, who begin laying out a plan of severe cost cuts and restructuring. Andy and Nigel cannot hear what is being discussed from where they are standing. Andy's assistant, Jen, quietly slips her phone under Miranda's chair to record the entire conversation. Later, Andy plays the recording for Nigel and tells him the new team is planning massive cuts and layoffs, and that Miranda simply agreed with all of it. Nigel does not visibly react. Andy then goes to see Peter and expresses her frustration over what is happening to Runway. Peter tells her that change is inevitable, much like how old buildings eventually give way to new ones. Andy snaps at him, saying journalism cannot be compared to buildings. They get into an argument and Andy asks him to leave. He goes, but tells her she knows where to find him. Andy stands outside Miranda's townhouse for a long time before finally ringing the bell. Stuart lets her in and she finds Miranda upstairs. Andy tells her she cannot let Jay destroy the magazine and that people will lose their jobs if nothing is done. Miranda tells her it is none of her concern and asks her to leave. Andy goes home and decides to write the book about Miranda. At the next team meeting, Nigel announces the new budget restrictions. There will be no more private cars and everyone will take ride shares. There will be no more business class air travel. For the first time in her career, Miranda boards a plane and sits in economy. Amari asks the flight attendant for a glass of Chardonnay. The answer is no. They all arrive in Italy and spend the next several days attending fashion events and networking. One evening, Andy spots Emily at a jeweler with Benji, who is buying her an expensive necklace. Later that night, Emily is in her hotel room arguing on the phone with her ex-husband when there is a knock at the door. It is Andy, who says she has something important to discuss. The next morning, Andy slips out at dawn. She runs into Nigel on her way out and tells him she is just going for a walk. She gets into Emily's waiting car, and they leave together without realizing that Miranda is watching them from a window above. They take a boat to Benji's Italian villa, where they all sit and talk, with Benji telling the story of how he met Emily. Shortly after, Jay also turns up at the villa. Later, Nigel confronts Andy and tells her he knows she is hiding something. She denies it. Miranda and the team visit the gala venue. Andy stops to admire a painting of the Last Supper, and Miranda approaches her. She tells Andy that Da Vinci believed humans were fundamentally flawed, and that betrayal is simply in their nature. Something about the remark strikes Andy immediately, and she runs to find Emily, who is speaking with Donatella Versace. Andy pulls her aside and tells her that Miranda knows. Emily insists Andy must have said something, but Andy swears she did not. They go together to see Miranda, who lets them in and asks why they are there. Andy explains everything. She tells Miranda that Jay is going to cut Runway down until there is nothing left, and that she went looking for someone who could buy the magazine and protect it. Emily confirms that she spoke to Benji and that he has already made Jay an offer. The deal is done. Andy tells Miranda that this way she keeps her position and can run the magazine for as long as she wants. Miranda is quiet for a moment. She says that she has had differences with many people over the years, but she never expected to be betrayed like this. She looks directly at Emily and tells her to say it out loud. Emily reveals that Benji is not buying the company just to protect it. He is buying it for her. Emily will become the new editor-in-chief and will bring a fresh perspective to the magazine. Andy is stunned and asks why she would do this. Emily tells Miranda that she knows exactly why. She accuses Miranda of having forced her out of Runway years ago by pressuring Dior to hire her, cutting off her path to leadership before she ever had a real chance. Miranda tells her that she did it to protect the magazine, because Emily is not a visionary and does not have what it takes to run it. She adds that deep down, Emily already knows this is true. Emily tells her she is wrong, says that Benji's lawyers will be in touch, and walks out. Andy tells Miranda she had no idea about Emily's true intentions. Miranda dismisses her and ends the conversation. That evening at dinner, Emily is there with Benji. Miranda approaches Benji and asks about the deal. He confirms it is moving forward. Miranda tells him she hopes that the traditions and values of Runway will be respected. Benji tells her gently that things are going to change, and that everything eventually comes to an end. Miranda walks out of the restaurant and stands alone outside, thinking about every year she has given to the industry. Stuart finds her and asks what is wrong. Miranda tells him she is about to lose the one thing that has defined her entire life and does not know who she is without it. Stuart tells her she will still have him, the twins, and a legacy that cannot be taken away. He tells her not to rush and to think carefully about what she truly wants to do next. The following morning, there is a frantic knock on Andy's door. It is Miranda. She tells Andy they need to get to work immediately. Miranda spends the next several days attending every major fashion event while Andy works every contact she has, trying to reach one particular person whose involvement could change everything. Amari informs Miranda that the meeting she had been requesting has been arranged, and they go backstage to find Lady Gaga waiting for them. Gaga tells Miranda she knows Miranda has never been a fan of hers. Miranda thanks her for performing. Gaga says she only agreed because Nigel threatened that she would never get a Runway cover if she refused. Andy finally makes contact with the person she has been chasing. She finds Miranda at the gala and tells her the deal is ready, but that they need to leave right now. Miranda says she has to give her speech first, and that there is no one else who can do it. Andy looks across the room and tells her there might be someone. She finds Nigel and asks him quietly whether Miranda has ever taken him for granted over all these years. She tells him that people have gone behind Miranda's back, but that he never did. He was always there. She asks him to give the speech. He says he cannot. She tells him that if there is anyone who can stand up in front of that room and represent what Runway truly means, it is him. Nigel agrees. Miranda walks out of the gala as Lady Gaga takes the stage and the crowd erupts in applause. Nigel steps up to the microphone and delivers the speech of his life. The next morning, Emily is with Benji and Jay finalizing the details of the takeover. She is already suggesting that she should be the first cover star of the new era. Jay's phone rings. He takes the call, and his expression changes. He tells Benji that he has just sold the entire publication to another party who came in with a better offer. The deal was done on the spot. Emily demands to know who bought it. Andy and Miranda walk into a room where Sasha Barnes is waiting. Sasha tells them they now have full access to the magazine and that Miranda can run it exactly as she always has. On the way back, Miranda thanks Andy for waking her up when she needed it most. She then tells Andy to write the book. Andy is caught off guard. Miranda tells her that she knew about it all along and that Andy should not walk away from that kind of money. She says Andy should write every terrible thing about her because the worse it is, the better it will sell. And it will probably keep her name relevant for a while longer too. Andy tells her she will not do that to her. Miranda tells her she does not need protecting, and that Andy came back because she needed to save herself, not because she was trying to help. There is nothing wrong with that. Andy smiles and says Miranda might be right, but that she thinks they can finally do something genuinely good together. Andy goes to find Peter and tells him that neither of them is perfect, but that maybe they could try being imperfect together. They make up and kiss. Sometime later, Andy goes to visit Emily. Emily admits that everything she did came from spite. She tells Andy that Benji ended their relationship and that she is now starting over at Coach and is scared about what comes next. Andy tells her she does not need the magazine or Benji because she is talented entirely on her own. She then brings up a phone call from a couple of years back that she always assumed was an accidental dial. Emily tells her it was not. She had wanted to reconnect but never found the courage to say anything. Andy tells her it is not too late. She asks if they can be friends. Emily says she wants that. Andy grins and asks what is going on with the eyebrows. Emily laughs and says she will get someone to fix them. Back at Runway, Nigel pulls Andy aside and reveals something important. He was the one who recommended her to Irv. He never forgot about her, not once in 20 years. He tells her she was always meant to be there. It just took a little longer than it should have. Andy congratulates Amari and Charlie on their promotions. She then brings Miranda the new pieces she has been working on and stands there waiting for some kind of response. Miranda glances up and tells her to get back to work. Andy smiles and returns to her desk. Miranda, Nigel, and Andy now lead Runway together.